Hello, one and all. Welcome back to the Indian Institute of Studies and Services, a unit of the International Studies and Services Foundation. And this is Dr. Sanya Khan with you. And we are going to continue our last topic, that is the Greco-Roman period, which is so very much important from the UGC-NET GRF point of view, as well as for those who are aspiring to get admission in any PhD course in the central universities or any other universities of the country and abroad. Also, for CUET aspirants, this topic is very important because we have some of the most important Greek as well as the Roman authors that we are going to discuss in this lecture. So, this is the second part of the Greco Roman period. So, let's check them out. We are going to discuss Plato as well as Aristotle in it, and then we will subsequently go ahead to discuss the Romans like Virgil, Horace, Ovid, and Seneca. Remember, Seneca is important for his invention of the Senecan tragedy, what we call the Senecan revenge tragedy, and William Shakespeare was also very much influenced by him, and he wrote several, of his plays based on Senecan tragedy, and so did Marlowe, Christopher Marlowe. So about them we'll talk later. So let us start with, Plato and Aristotle. So Plato was the one who introduced something called the academy. Okay, the academy, it was a form of institute where he introduced subjects such as philosophy, mathematics, biology, social sciences, so on and so forth. So then we have Aristotle. So if there is a question, the academy, which one of the following was a part of the academy? So it was Plato. Okay, so Plato was a student of the academy, and then he introduced various other subjects to broaden its horizon, and then he himself became the teacher also. Okay, then we have Aristotle, but before that, we'll talk about the writings of Plato, but these are important, but not from UGC-NET point of view. Okay, because questions haven't appeared, from Plato's writings, but yeah, just remember he's the academy. That was a landmark initiative, but still, Plato wrote Protagoras, Apology, and Gorgias. Okay, just remember the names as displayed here, and no need to go into the depth. Okay, then we have Aristotle, and obviously his poetics, which we must not forget. The poetics, Aristotle's poetics, this falls under the category of frequently asked questions, FAQs for UGC-NET, CUET, and also for PhD entrance exams. Okay, it is in poetics only where actually Aristotle introduced the concept of tragedy. Okay, remember we talked about tragedy in the previous lecture, and we said that for Aristotle, means for all these Greeks and the Romans, there was no concept of drama, means the word drama in itself did not exist. Drama was called as tragedy. Okay, and the in a broader sense, poetics means actually the grammar of drama. Poetics here does not mean the poetry as we see in the modern sense, but poetics here actually refers to the plays, the dramas, okay, the tragedies. So then rhetoric and Nicomachean ethics are there. So Nicomachean ethics is not important. Rhetoric is, you can just remember the names of these, because there can be a question like which one of the following is not written by Aristotle. That's it. Just remember that. But remember poetics because it introduced, number one, the genre of tragedy. Okay, in drama, and tragedy basically referred to the entire genre of drama. Okay, so because it was considered that it is tragedy which is the serious, which is a serious genre, and comedy and other genres are meant only for the common folks, or the common folks or children and women. But tragedy was considered to be a heroic kind of a drama. And remember, it was a time of the wars, during the later period of the Trojan Wars, when Plato and Aristotle, they were writing. So they want to invoke the heroic tradition. Okay, so tragedy was considered to be, the genre of heroism, the genre of the, the soldiers, okay, who'd go and fight to protect their country or to protect their land. Okay, so poetry was considered as a strong genre, you can say, and all other genres like comedy and all, they were not considered to be strong. They were considered, suitable only for, children and women. Now this is Aristotle saying, okay, not I'm not saying it, but Aristotle. Then we have the Romans, okay, like Virgil, Horace, Ovid, Seneca. Okay, then Plautus is important. Plautus is important for the introduction of a form of comedy, which was to become a very important genre in the Restoration era. Okay, so Plautus, the kind of plot that he introduced, he inspired the Restoration comedians, like, for example, Afraben. Remember, Afraben wrote, Restoration comedies. So it was actually Plautus who introduced the Restoration comedy. Okay, and it is because of Plautus that, the comedy then resurfaced again during the Restoration period. Okay, so now we will look at Virgil, Horace, and Ovid. Then we shall move on to Seneca. And one more thing, why is this particular age important? Because it was the age of contradictions in literature. How? We had someone called Aristotle and his predecessors, like Homer and all, who, advocated tragedy. Okay, number one. Then we had, Seneca, who advocated and who actually introduced the Senecan tragedy. Okay, means tragedy within tragedy, which is also known as the revenge tragedy. Remember Richard III or, Hamlet. These all are the examples of the revenge tragedy as used by William Shakespeare in the 16th century. Okay, so this is why Seneca is important, and Plautus is again important for the introduction of comedy, which was later on to inspire the Restoration comedians like Afraben. Okay, so this was the age when, new genres were developing, although they were contradictory to each other. Okay, so we shall now look at Virgil, Horace, and Ovid, amongst whom Virgil is very important. Remember, he appears in Dante's Divina Commedia, means Divine Comedy, as a guide, and as a teacher of Dante himself. Okay, so Dante, introduces Virgil in his Divina Commedia or Divine Comedy in the form of a guide who would guide him through hell and purgatory. Okay, so Virgil is very important figure as a philosopher, okay, as a mentor. So let's look at Virgil, and he was himself inspired by Homer, and he in his turn inspired other authors like Dante. Okay, so let's look at Virgil now. So Virgil, his first work is the Aeneid. Okay, the Aeneid, very important. Aeneid is important because of its inspiration from Homer, okay, Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. And remember, in the last lecture, we talked about Homer and his epics, okay. So this was also the age of epics when we talk about the entire Greco-Roman period. So this period was so rich, so obviously it becomes important for UGC-NET as well as PhD tests and CUET, right? So, Aeneid is important because it was inspired by Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. So, if there is a question, which of the following works, or which of the following authors uh, influenced Virgil? Okay, it is Homer, or Virgil's work, the Aeneid. So then also it's Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. So this much is important for us as of now for all the exams which I just mentioned. But one just, and just for knowledge, the Aeneid depicts the end of the Trojan War. Trojan War has ended. Remember, in Iliad and Odyssey, we were talking about the Trojan War. So you can go back to the previous lecture. Okay, it means part one of Greco-Roman period. The Trojan War has ended, and when Aeneid starts, there is a the protagonist Aeneas, okay, who takes refuge in different parts of the world, and he roams around here and there because he is a war survivor, okay, and a refugee. So as a war survivor, he roams around here and there, and subsequently what happens, he lands up in an area which is present day Rome. Okay, so Aeneas is important, and the work, the Aeneid, is important because Aeneas was the character who is depicted as an explorer, as a war survivor, and finally the founder of the Roman land, the founder of Rome as a country. Okay, so this is why Aeneas is important, and Aeneid. Okay, because Aeneid, the Aeneid by Virgil, it depicts the entire story of how Rome was founded. Okay, how Rome, present day Rome, came into being. So obviously it was inspired by Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. This fact we must remember. Okay, and then we have Ars, uh, Ars Amatoria and Metamorphosis. So Metamorphosis is particularly an anthology, you can say, in the modern sense of the term. So Metamorphosis depicts 200 stories of the Greek and Roman heroes. Okay, so it's a huge book, and it depicts 200 stories of heroism and chivalry in the Greek and Roman traditions or their mythologies. Then again, it was a contemporary collection of tales because it also depicts the beginning and the end of the world during the author's time, that is during Ovid. What the world actually looked like during Ovid, how the world started, okay, and how the world would end. Okay, all these are situated in the socio-cultural historical scenario of the time of Ovid, the author himself. Okay, so this is Metamorphosis, a collection of 200 tales. Now, what makes Metamorphosis important for us? See, there can be a potential question: how many tales are there in Metamorphosis? Because the numbers are important in UGC-NET. And also CUET, because if when we go to read Canterbury Tales by Canterbury Tales by Chaucer, then we all know there are questions on numbers. How many stories are there? Okay, or how many total numbers of travelers are there? Okay, going on the pilgrimage. So the numbers are important because we have MCQs, multiple choice questions. So the objective type questions and answers are important. Therefore, I am saying that Metamorphosis is important for its 200 tales from the Greek and Roman mythology. Okay, so remember the number 200 tales in Metamorphosis. Then Ovid, he has also written Ars Amatoria, means the art of love. It is a satire. Okay, it is a satire on how to find a lover or love, and how to keep the love. Okay, means keep the lover with you for a lifetime. So it's a kind of tutorial, but in a very satirical manner, okay, based on the contemporary society of Ovid. Okay, so Ovid was Ovid was a diligent observer who even went to the extent of starting the world and ending the entire world, means the the end of the world during his own time. Okay, so these are Virgil and Horace, and we talked about Ovid. Then now we shall move ahead to other authors, okay, of the same period. And today we are going to end this age, means Greco-Roman period, and in the next lecture we'll start with the new age, right? That is the old English period. So old English period is basically considered as the modern English period. Modern, why I'm saying, because it is on record and it records the actual English literary tradition. Okay, before that, what happens? We are reading the Greco-Roman tradition, not English literature per se, okay, in its original form, but the Old English period, since the beginning of the Old English period, as the name suggests, we shall look at the English literature in its original form. Okay.